it's time to make broth. So, yesterday, Caleb made an entire chicken. We had our in-laws over for dinner, and it was, quite frankly, delicious. So, now I'm left with the carcass, and instead of throwing it away, I'm gonna make some homemade bone broth. It's one of my favorite things to make because it's super easy to do, and it's a really nice way to use every part of the chicken. So the chickens we've raised, and then we've frozen them, and then so we use them. So I like using as much of the chicken as possible, just so we're not wasting. And I know where this came from, it's homegrown. So very simple. I'm just using my Instapot. You can, okay, caveat here. You can do this, like pressure cook it, and it'll be done in like 2 hours. I like to slow cook mine, even in my Instapot. I probably use my Instapot more as a slow cooker than I do an actual pressure cooker. I think slow cooking it, you just get more of the goodness and you get more of the like nutrients, personal preference, but you can pressure cook it for like 2 hours. I think you put it on the soup and what is it? Yeah, the soup button for 120 minutes, and you can do it that way. But anyway, I like to slow cook mine. So I'm gonna dump this in here. And then honestly, you can pretty much put whatever else you want in there. I have carrots, celery, some green onion, and garlic. Usually when I do this, I'm using like scraps, or I try to use my scraps. In the past, I've added some herbs, so I use like rosemary, and I think I've used thyme. So you can really customize this. So I'm gonna add all this goodness into my pot. Oh no! Okay, so I got all of my veggies in here. Now I'm gonna add a good little heaping of salt. So you can actually see what I'm doing. Some salt. Then I like to add pepper as well. And I'm also gonna add like a tablespoon or two of the apple cider vinegar, which might sound semi-off-putting because it does have a pretty strong taste. But the thing that's good about apple cider vinegar is it's gonna help draw collagen and nutrients from the chicken carcass, so it's good. And honestly, with as much water as we're putting in this, it's gonna be pretty diluted, so I wouldn't worry about that. But if it is not quite to your taste, what you can do is when you actually consume the bone broth, you can add a little bit of like yogurt or sour cream, and it'll neutralize it. So now I'm just gonna fill water to within my max line, so my chicken is completely covered. So you don't really have to worry about cutting your veggies any certain size, any certain way. Like literally you can throw scraps in because you're gonna strain it out at the end anyway. So once you fill your pot, I guess turning it on would be helpful. I'm just basically gonna leave it, set it and forget it type of thing, because I'm gonna let this slow cook for, I would say at least 12 hours, but longer is always better. Okay, so it has been about 24 hours since I started my bone broth. Normally I probably let it go closer to 12, but honestly, the longer you let it go, the better. You can cook it for up to 24 hours, 36 hours. I mean, let all that goodness just kind of soak in. So what I'm gonna do now is I got a saucepan, I think that's what it's called, and I have a strainer. You can also use cheesecloth too, but if you don't have cheesecloth, don't stress about it. Like, use what you got. So mine is pretty fine. I have cheesecloth. I'm just not gonna get it. So I've taken my bone broth out of the Instapot, and I'm gonna strain it. So you can kind of do this one of two ways. You could strain it as you put it into your cups. I strain it first. I'm probably gonna ladle it into my mason jars just because I am notorious for spilling things. So I like to be a little bit more careful. But yeah, I'm just gonna ladle it into my mason jars, leave a little bit of room at the top so I can freeze it, and then date it. And that's all there is to it. It's super easy, super quick. It's nice to have them in these smaller mason jars, but I also have the bigger ones. It's good to get out if you need, like any recipe that calls for like stock or for broth, you can use your own, which is nice. So you know exactly where it's from, what's in it, and it tastes delicious.